Have you ever wondered about the scientific definition of life? Well, we have, and you're about to hear from someone else who has too. Carl Zimmer is an award-winning science writer, and we interviewed him last month at an event for the American Association for the Advancement of Science, AAAS.
On top of all of his writing, he has a new podcast literally called What is Life? It's a series of live conversations between Carl Zimmer and 8 leading thinkers on the question of what it means to be alive. Makes him pretty qualified to answer this question. So here's the little mini philosophical discussion we had when I asked him straight up, what is life?
So I had these conversations with leading experts on the definition of life, on the origin of life, and I would ask them, well, what's your definition of life? And they would really squirm hard to get out of that. And part of that is just because we don't have a theory of life yet. And what's interesting is actually like some of these scientists like Jeremy England at MIT are actually like developing these theories, looking at life as an energy dissipation process. And they're actually starting to study it seriously, scientifically, in a way that just wasn't possible before. So I don't think it is possible to give a definition of life. It just isn't. You can talk about life as a process, maybe, but I don't know. Like I'm not sure we'd know life if we found it on another planet. I mean, I think we're so limited to ourselves. It's sort of like in Star Trek, where everyone on other planets has like 2 arms and 2 legs and happens to look like a Hollywood extra. Like, how interesting is that? Yeah. That's not how it's going to be. It's going to be like some crystal in a cave that seems to be moving, and is that alive or not? It's going to be weird.
Yeah. I was particularly fascinated with the astrobiologist who believed that life doesn't follow physics. Physics is actually a subset of what causes life.
Yeah, I know. I know. And I'm trying to have like a conversation with this person in front of a live audience, and I'm like, yeah, keep the brain inside the skull. What is she saying? This is wild. Yeah, they're a fun crew to hang out with, definitely.
I'd imagine.
I think it's cool you're expanding some of these questions. Like, I think of ancient Greece, and philosophy and science were not different, right? In ancient Greece, it was basically the same kind of thing. And that really sounds like what a lot of the subject of your latest book, if you're talking about genes and like who we are and what we are, there's a little bit of philosophy in there too, right?
There's a lot of philosophy. I mean, in a way, I think of philosophy as figuring out what you mean by what you say. And scientists do not really think that much about what they mean, because they think that they have a very sort of clear-cut one-to-one mapping between their language and reality. But, if you say like, oh, I'm a scientist that studies life, a philosopher would be like, yeah, and what's that? And literally, there was one scientist who looked at different definitions of life, and he came up with over 300 of them, like serious, legitimate definitions of life that scientists have put forward. So scientists are not agreed on it. Now, it helps to sort of start to make sure you're being clear about what you're thinking about, especially when it comes to genes. Like, if you say like, well, it's in my DNA, like, whoa, what do you mean? I mean, like ever since I've told people I was working on a book on heredity, they say like, oh, well, X is in my DNA. X can be anything from, I don't know, hemophilia to just loving ice cream. Like it's just everything we think of as being somewhere embedded in our DNA, and it's not. So we could benefit from thinking more like philosophers, I think.